Hi, this is Lisa. I'm here with Amber today, and we are going to talk about the personal assessment that you can get for free on driventobefree.org. This assessment will kind of help you see where you're at in your health and see where you may need some areas of help. We're going to go through that assessment with you today, right, Amber?
Yes, we are. And even if you already bought the book or you purchased the book, you can go on the website and go ahead and complete this assessment. I think it'll be very beneficial. And sometimes it's very eye-opening to see where you fall, where you may be on the assessment.
Okay, let's pull that up and then we'll just begin talking about that. Okay, where you're going to download that, it's going to be a PDF file on driventobefree.org, or if you see us with, we're going to have some copies at book signings to hand out. Another thing this is good for is doing it early and then like midway and then at the end, and periodically doing it, you really can see your progress as you go.
And I think it's important, we have current measurements on there, and this is not a weight loss program. There's a lot of those, but it is a health go. And when it comes to health, when you start making healthy decisions and you start lining things up, you will start to see some shifts or changes in those measurements. So we just have that there just because sometimes the scales are not as friendly as the measurements are.
That's true. That's true. And you can get frustrated if you're trying to lose weight. Some people are trying to gain weight. That's why the first questions is current weight, goal weight. Is your goal weight to gain or lose? And so you can assess that and see, because we don't just want to assume everyone has the same goal. When it says how often do you weigh, we're going to use that later because some people are controlled by the scales and we don't want to be controlled by anything. So the next question is, can you control yourself to not weigh? This is a way for you to assess because there's some people so addicted they can't stop.
That's very true.
Now the pant size, shirt size, that's just a way for you to look back and say, woo, I've done a good job, because sometimes you're going to see some improvements and forget that you've done it. So it's a good way to assess the improvements and then recognize what they are and be thankful for them. Then there's current medications. Some people wanted to know if they're turning this into us. No, we don't need to know any of this information. The only way we would need to know any of it is if there's some questions you might have and you want some of our team to look over your sheet, make some recommendations. We're not clinical, we're not medical, so it would be prayer recommendations or freedom recommendations. And what I've noticed for myself is I'm off of all medicine. There are some things that I take like biotin and a vitamin, but this is a gauge because you can be on medicines now, and when you get healthy, perhaps you won't have to. I don't know. That'll be up to you and your doctor, but that's why that's here, just for you to have a good record. Because for me, after losing 113 pounds, if I didn't have my journal I started beforehand, I would have forgotten what it was like or the issues that I had, except that I do have a written record of that. What about you, Amber?
Yes, I think that's one thing that we kind of discussed when we started this process, like what is going on now and how do we want our health to affect those areas. I think both of us shared a fatty liver when we started this process, and then as we went through this, we've seen a change in some of those labs and different stuff. So we think that is very beneficial to just be able to gauge and to know where you're at and where you're wanting to go.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I have perfect lab levels. Woot, woot.
Woo-hoo!
It did take a while for my fatty liver to get unfat and start working right. Okay, the next is describe the following on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst and 1 being the worst and 10 being the absolute best. This is to help you get to thinking and be really truthful when you answer this. It can be pretty eye-opening, but you're just going to go down through there, and it may reveal some issues just as you're doing it. Now, chapter 1 of our book is going to help you assess your openness to allow God to move in the areas where you have marked as an issue. So I think partnering this part of the assessment with chapter 1 will be helpful.
just like if you went into a regular doctor's office, when you come in, they have you check what health issues that you have going on right now and what concerns you have. And so we just want you to be able to look at that and to see what you believe, that you're having some problems with, because throughout the book, like we've said, there will be times that you can pray over these things, seek the Lord in that area, and it might change once you start to get freedom and you start to work on your health and make some changes. I know I had sleep issues when I started this, and stomach problems and different things going on. But as I started taking my health seriously and I changed the way I was doing things, and as the Lord revealed things to me, then I was able to start seeing some of those changes. I slept better. I had more energy throughout the day. I didn't feel like I was dragging. And so I think it's just good to, like Lisa had said earlier, to have an idea where you are at and then where you want to go.
True. Okay, next is if you could choose quick changes in your physical or mental health, what 3 changes would you like to see first? And actually, this question is going to help you when you're going through the book, and it's going to help you to know where to pray.
The emotional assessment, I think, is very important because we don't realize how much our health can affect our emotions. And I guess I didn't realize that. I'm a therapist by trade. That's what I do throughout the day. And so sometimes when I'm seeing kids that have some behavior issues, we started talking about what are they eating? What are they putting into their bodies? Because that is going to be huge when we're looking at things. And so I think it's very important to be very honest. And sometimes there's a lot of shame around emotions, or if you're feeling depressed, or if you're feeling anxious, or you're not happy. And this is a shame-free zone. We're not going to shame anybody. And this is for you, but just be honest with yourself, because God wants to work all of that out for you. And I think that's what is so important, is that He doesn't want us to be depressed. He doesn't want us to be anxious. He doesn't want us to be fearful. And so we just have to be honest and put that down so that you can come back to it later and see where you receive freedom.
That's good. I like the part when you eat, check the reasons you typically have for eating. That is really a telling area. And
boredom.
Me too. If I'm anxious, I don't want to eat at all. A lot of people are stress eaters, but for me, if I get bored, I'm like, need to snack, need to do something. So,
yes.
But not anymore. I kicked that habit. Yes. One thing is, we are also in Freedom Ministries where we pray for people, and we have people a lot of times get free from shame, from depression, from fear, all kinds of things, but then they don't change food, and your food intake actually can really inhibit your areas of freedom, because if all you're doing is eating high sugars all day long, that can overwhelm your system. It can cause depression. It can cause sluggishness and all those kinds of things. So doing this assessment will help you to be able to tell if that might be an issue for you.
And I think also with that is when you're eating a bunch of junk and unhealthy stuff, your mind is not very clear. And so it's hard to press into the Lord and to hear clearly from the Lord when our brain is just clogged up with junk.
That's true. And for those of you that think you can't be junk free, I'm going on 3 years fairly soon that I haven't eaten any sugar. I would have thought that was completely impossible. I love the sugars. But once God set me free and I made some decisions on how to maintain that life, it's not been a problem.
Glory to God.
I know that happens sometimes. People will be like, I would go on a health plan, but I absolutely cannot do without this. Well, there's an issue if there's anything that you can't do without.
That's right.
But let's not cover that right now.
That's true.
Well, with your food and diet assessment, again, we're not nutritionists, nor are we doctors, but this is an assessment to help you guide. So we're going to have you look at what allergies you have, what food restrictions that you have, so it will help you make a plan, also give you a point of prayer for focus and for healing. And then we're going to have you write down your typical meals. For me, whenever I was praying about getting on a health plan, I was telling the Lord, like he didn't know, God, I don't eat all the time. People think that fat people just eat all day long. I don't eat all day long. Sometimes I don't eat 2 meals. And I just heard the Lord say, what'd you eat for supper last night? It wasn't condemning. It wasn't shameful. And I realized I stopped by a store and got a package of cookies and I ate that package. That's what I did. So be truthful and write down what your typical meals look like. Everyone looks different. And then we have lists of foods you refuse to eat. Now, I added this because this also can be a point of prayer. There's several foods I knew were good for me. I knew was good for my skin, good for my heart, but I didn't like them. So, Amber, I started asking the Lord to help me like those things.
I had to start, I think that was part of it too, like changing my mindset about, cauliflower mashed potatoes is not the same as the mashed potatoes made out of potatoes. But now I love them. And there's a lady at our church that makes them deliciously, just so y'all know.
Amy?
But,
she does.
yes, they're so good. But I think, and then I've another lady that is doing the book, she absolutely hated salads. But as she's kind of went through this process, now she will eat a salad. And so I think that is very important to know that it doesn't have to be that way, but we now have to know what it is in the beginning.
I was so driven at the beginning of this. I was like, okay, God, I will eat what I don't like if it is going to mean my health. If it's going to mean I get to see my grandchildren and I'm healthy longer. The only food that I can't seem to conquer is green peppers, but I'm still on it. I can now have them like on a pizza or a healthy pizza, but I just haven't been able to do that, but I'm still praying. I now like the red ones and the orange ones. And then our friend Tammy, who's one of our team members who helps in the ministry, she despised eggs so badly. And she was like, she would message me and she's like, Lisa, I am going to eat this egg. It's a texture issue is what she didn't like. So now she can eat it. She still is not in love with it, but she's still persevering. And some people say, well, why would I even want to acquire a taste? I don't know. I think you should try to acquire a taste for things that are good for you.
Exactly.
I'm now eating spinach, cooked spinach too, and that stuff. Oh, that's disgusting.
I used to not like it, and then my husband made some the other day, and me and Ainsley was just eating it up, and I was like, I cannot believe, because my dad ate it all the time growing up, but now I was like, okay, this is some good stuff.
We're in the middle, while we're doing this video, we're in the middle of a quarantine, and I got this can of turnip greens, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can just make a meal on this. And my daughter said, you are absolutely the worst person to be stuck with in an apocalypse.
True that. We don't have any of those comfort snacky foods.
Yeah. I've had to revisit this sheet just because with a little bit of stress right now and this worry you're not going to have food, this thing started creeping up wanting me to snack, and I had to grab a hold of that pretty quickly and cast that down.
The last 2 health plans that you've had, what were them? Were they successful? Was it a healthy plan? How long did it last? I think that's very important because as struggling for many years back and forth on this, I would say, okay, I'm going to work out. 2 months into working out, there was no progress, and so I would quit that and I would come up with a new health plan. I'm going to eat whatever that fat losing soup for a week to lose this mass amount of things. I would do that, and then there was not really any success. And so it's very important to see what you've done in the past, figure out why you stopped doing that, why it was not successful, and that's going to help you to be get more successful in the future when we're looking forward.
True. And chapter 2 and worksheet 2 is going to help you process these things out that you're just listing right here. It's one of my favorite chapters. Of course, the book is about food addictions and eating disorders. And what I'm finding is that not everyone knows they have an eating disorder. For one thing, it's a shame covered thing, and a lot of people do not want to bring it out that they even have issues. They're hiding food, they're hiding their activities, unless it's like online to other communities that way. So we just wanted to ask you a question. Do you have it?
People do feel shame and they don't want to really talk about it. They use their eating as a way to control things. And so I think as you go through this, if you do, even after this assessment, you start the book and you realize that, oh, wow, I have had an eating disorder. I do have an eating disorder. That's okay. I mean, there is help there. This book is here. We're here. There is lots of support that are there, so you can reach out to us if you don't know where to go or where to turn, because we really do want to help you all as we go through this process, and that's what we're here for.
True. That's good, Amber. We're going to have you put what level of participation you would give into learning how to walk in healing and wholeness, because some people are like, oh, I'm gung-ho, I'm in, I'll do whatever it takes. But then they realize I'm not as driven as I thought I was. Maybe I want to do it, but I think I'm afraid or I'll fail. And actually, these questions are formatted in a way that the book can help you process those out. And we're going to have you look at your exercises that you like, and then if you have pain or not. And this is just a good assessment before and after. You know, I couldn't walk upstairs without heaving and my heart racing or getting out of rhythm. And so that was one of my things in my journal. And now, you know, I did a half marathon a few months ago and I can go. So that's a before and after that I can look at. It's a non-scale victory. And then what are your current frequency of exercise? That's just something you can look back on later. What is your opinion of obese people? This is important. I know one woman who lost weight and then began hating all fat people. And I was like, that's a little hypocritical to do it. But you and I talked, Amber, one of the videos that I accidentally deleted, that, you know, we have been, or I know that I have been the subject of what I call fat prejudice, where people assume that I'm lazy, assume that I'm eat all day long, assume that I'm dumb, assume that, well, lots of assumptions that I'm poor. That's an odd one, but that seems to be the case. And that's hypocritical of me, because I often have had the same opinions of other people who are obese. Yes. And then when you come to the eating disorder component, those thoughts of obese people can be even more twisted. L9, did you feel guilt or shame when answering any of these questions? That's because you need to know, be aware. You may have shame and not even realize it. So that's why we put that question there. I'll leave the cheating assessment to you, Miss Amber.
Okay, so cheating. So when we get a plan and we decide this is what we're going to do, what do we think cheating is? And I think that's going to be very important. Like if I say I'm going to do low carb, but then I eat something one time that has a carb, do I actually consider that as being cheating? Or do I'm just like, oh, that's not a big deal? So you have to really know what it is, because I think my thoughts on cheating were very light. I made a lot of excuses and was able to cheat a lot. And so until I realized what I considered cheating and what I thought was not cheating, I wasn't very successful. But once I got that mindset down and said, okay, this is going to be cheating no matter what, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, then I felt like I was able to be more successful. But we have to know what your mindset is. You have to know how you believe, what you think.
I think that's important, because we have a design we designed called #IDon'tCheat. There's a lot of people that don't want that shirt, and we've got it in magnets because they're like, I'm a cheater. No, do you cheat on your husband? Do you cheat on your taxes? you need to know what cheating actually means. And for me, I have very few healthy rules that constitute cheating or not cheating, because with cheating, there's a lot of guilt that comes into that, a lot of shame
Yes,
that comes
very.
into that. So that's why I think it needs to be defined. I have a
And
policy.
it can also prevent you from keep going forward.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I failed, and so I'm just going to stop the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to, work around that.
I have a no cheating policy. And one of the ways I keep that is I just came back from Honduras, and I knew that while I was there, I was going to eat something called papooses. So before I even went, on that day when everybody's doing this, I was going to do that. I also knew I was not going to eat any sugary things. That's just something I do not do. But so when it came time, somebody's like, do you feel guilty for eating that? No, I don't. I'm not cheating. This was pre-planned. I'm not eating it because I was feeling overwhelmed. I'm eating this because it is perfectly within what I set out to do it. It really helps free you up and keeps that guilt and shame away, I think.
Right.
Okay, then we want to know about your mindset after you've cheated, what that does to you. We'll need to process that out, because you, like Amber was saying, you may cheat and feel like, okay, I'm going to start over on Monday, or I've blown it, I'm going back. One of my favorite things people do would be like, I've blown it, I'm just going to eat cake.
I'm going to eat all I can today because I'm going to start back tomorrow.
I wanted to do that yesterday. I was thinking, although I wasn't going to eat sugar, I was thinking, since I have eaten this thing that I hadn't planned on, what all can I get in at this moment?
Yeah.
But
in this one setting, how much can I gorge on?
We're really good at finding the loopholes and stuff. That's why we need to tighten those down. Okay, so it's not good to call yourselves name or doing self-hatred, but in chapter 3 and worksheet 3, we're going to talk about that. And then we refer to 4 to 7 will help you address the root causes of any of that self-hatred or shame or that kind of thing. Okay, what has kept you from staying on a meal or exercise plan? What do you think about that section, Amber?
Ooh, excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. I probably have every one of these excuses at some point.
That's why you're
there. It's like we have to figure out why we keep saying that we're not going to do this or we're not going to do that, and then we got to catch ourselves when we start to say those things. Because it is one of my biggest reasons for failing, I think, is when you start bringing up all these excuses of why you can't do it.
Well, just chapter 3 is going to help people process all of these excuses and reasons, which I probably had all those as well. Now, the life controlling issues, this may be hard to check, but this is also going to help you assess what you need and know what to take to God.
I think with this, as you read these, like gluttony, if you feel like when you say that word, like if you're seeking the Lord and you say gluttony, if you have any type of something you feel in your gut, anything you feel, I would check that box. Or, unforgiveness. Wow. Then you need to check that box. But really seek the Lord with this, because sometimes we may not know it's there, but I can just say certain things and the Lord will reveal to me, hey, I got something going on. And I think if you are going through this, really just take the time to say the word, wait to see if your body responds. If it don't, move on to the next one. If you feel any type of, little sting, whatever it may be, then check that box, and then you can come back at a later point when, and deal with those issues.
That's really good. And chapters 8 through 11 are going to help you to cut off the effects of these. So when you get to those chapters, you may want to come back to this list and make sure and address those properly.
I think, this is where the freedom is going to come. This is where the success is going to come. This is where you're going to start seeing a difference. And this is if you put the work in. If you put the work in and you trust the Lord, and which is what's going to be our first section. Do we trust the Lord to rescue us from an eating disorder or from unhealthy choices? And I think that's where, when we start that process and you start seeking the Lord, you're going to notice a huge, huge difference.
That's true. So make sure and check out driventobefree.org. We have got videos on there. We're adding videos all of the time, and we want to be a support to you. We also have a Facebook page, and you can get our book on Amazon, or you can order it on the webpage, and we'll get that to you as soon as possible. Our packaging is really cute.
Yes, it is. You really want that packaging.
Yeah. And so if you mention when you order the book, if you will send us a note and say, I made it to the end of the video on the personal assessment, we will send you a gift with your book. How about that, Amber?
Yes.
We send good gifts, cool gifts.
Love it.
All right. Well, hope you'll come watch the rest of the videos, and here is to your health.
Yes.
Driven.
Bye.
Bye.